So hi everybody, my name is Carol Peruso and I'm the Consumer Affairs Librarian. I hope you all are doing well. I love it to see your pictures even if they're not live. It just makes the class so much livelier for me. So if you have a picture and you're comfortable putting it up, that would be lovely. Today what we're going to be doing is looking at some research skills for Consumer Affairs 427 assignments and just research skills that you could use in any of your classes. I know that not every student in the class is a consumer affairs major, so hopefully you'll find resources that will help you in whatever program you're in or whatever classes you have. So I'm going to start. I'm also the journalism librarian. I always like to mention that. And I am a journalist by background. 20 years at the LA Times. Let me get us up here operating. Okay. So the library homepage. So the library homepage offers many doors into the content that the library buys on your behalf. So we pay about $2 million a year in library resources and services for you and for faculty as well. One of the things that's important to know is that we have this big box down here that will keep you up to date on the services that we are offering during the pandemic. Right now we are checking physical books out once a week, but we're in the process of installing lockers, and so we are hoping to offer that service more often. But all of the updates will be kept here. Through this view all hours, you'll know when Cal State Long Beach librarians are available for consultation, but even when they're not available for consultation, there are librarians available 24 hours a day because we belong to a global consortium of English-speaking librarians to allow us all to offer research help 24 hours a day. So where we're going to start today is we're going to start with the research guides. And the research guides are what I strongly recommend that you use, regardless of the course you're in, to find the resources that are most likely to help you. And the reason for that is we have over 300 databases, not to mention 1 million books. And so in order to weed through those, or weed's probably a pejorative term, but in order to get through those, what the librarians have done is they've gone through and given you lists of databases and resources that are more applicable to whatever department you're working in. The other thing that you'll see on the library homepage is the OneSearch box. And OneSearch will search about 90% of the library's resources, of their electronic resources. It is wonderful in that regard. You can filter by articles, newspapers, books, course reserves. The only challenge with it is when you're doing a research project is that the results, when they come up, of course there's tens of thousands, the filters in OneSearch are not quite as sophisticated as the filters are in the databases. So we're going to be spending our time today in the databases and in the research guides, but I will show you where you can watch a little short video on OneSearch as well. So right now we're going to go to the research guides, and I'd like all of you to click on this. And then you can just scroll down to Consumer Affairs. And I'd like you all to be here, and there'll be one more link that we'll go to in a minute. But before we get there, I want to show you some different aspects of the overall research guide. So this page is just to give you general information, how to access the databases from off campus with your Beach ID, the link for the Department of Family and Consumer Sciences, other research guides that might be relevant to consumer affairs, the updates, the COVID operating updates, how to chat with a librarian, what's new, etc. Over here, you'll see that you can email me with this link, and that is my preferred way of helping you. But I am on chat sometimes, and if I'm on chat, this will say that I am. And you can also make a Zoom appointment. I find that email works best because then I have a better handle on what it is you're researching than it is in chat. However, feel free to use this however. And you can see now that there's a little box that's popped up that says Ask a Librarian. And that's the service that I was referring to, where we have librarians available 24 hours a day. The next tab I want to show you is Campus Resources and Services. And in particular, during these pandemic times and difficult times, we're offering additional services such as the laptops and hotspots. But also, we just decided to put the regular services that the campus offers up here for ease so everybody could just get to them quickly, including the Writing Center, CAPS, etc., health services. The next page, which depending on your how many different types of research projects you have done in your campus history, this may or may not be helpful to you, but I have embedded videos into these 5 basic steps. So you need to select a topic, and there's a very brief video on selecting a topic using opposing viewpoints. You need to choose good keywords, and that's where most searches fall down from the beginning, is people will try to put a whole sentence in instead of specific keywords. And there's a brief video for choosing keywords. You need to pick the right source to search. So it might be OneSearch or one of our, and I need to update this. It says one of our 200 databases. We're now up to over 300 databases. And sometimes Google will be the best. But there's a couple of short videos here on how to pick a resource and Academic Search Complete, on using Academic Search Complete, which is a multidisciplinary database. And that's the place I normally start when I'm doing my research, just in case that's helpful. Then you need to refine the results of your search with the filters. I don't have a video up for that one. I'm working on that. And then, of course, you need to cite your sources. And we've given you a couple of resources here to help you with citing your resource. So finding books, pretty straightforward searching. You can filter by ebooks, which is particularly important, of course, right now. Also, some books that we have available for you. A couple of these are ebooks that might be useful: Demographics and Spending Patterns, The Science of Consumption. I tried to put as many ebooks up here as I could. Then this database is the database that probably is used the most, just because it's not specific to a course. But these are databases that are likely to have information, and both scholarly and non-scholarly, that is helpful to consumer affairs, or is that related to consumer affairs. And so you can see there's about 15 different databases out of our 300. That doesn't mean that we don't have many others. And in fact, I was going to do this last week. I was going to put a link in here to our entire list of databases, which you can get to from the library homepage just by clicking on databases. And this will give you all of our databases, and you can search by subject, and you can just search. All right. The other thing that I want to call out your attention to on this page is this note about bias. And just as we know in all segments of our society, there is bias. There is cultural, racial, ethnic, gender biases. And academia is no different. And this includes scholarly research. The search tools that we all use, including databases and web search engines, reinforce that bias in many ways, some intentional, mostly not intentional. As a result, it's important as researchers, and that is you, as well as us, it's important that you take the time to learn more about the authors of your studies that you're using, and also to use inclusive search terms in your searches. Make sure that you're not reinforcing the bias in how you do your research. Additionally, two of the librarians have created a research guide specifically with resources that center on critical scholarship on social, political, cultural, and economic conditions of African Americans and other oppressed communities of color. So I wanted to call that to your attention. Now I'd like you all to click on the CAFF 427 page, this research guide. And at this point you can, if you prefer, you can go along with me, or you can just sit back and watch the presentation and take notes. So as you know, CAFF 427 examines and analyzes consumer motivation, demand, behavior, and factors influencing decision making. And so I started with a general box on consumer behavior and some suggested research strategies that you can use to research consumer behavior on any topic. And so if you were to use this search, what you would do is you would take the term consumer behavior, and I recommend putting it in quotation marks. And the reason for that is it's a well-known phrase. And when you have a well-known phrase, if you put it in quotation marks, that tells the search engine, I want to search for this as a phrase. I don't want to search for consumer separate from behavior. I want to search for the whole phrase. Then you would put and I recommend you put that in caps so that the search engine does not think you're looking for the word and. And then you're going to want to find a generic term for your topic. Okay, so, and the example, here's the Cheerios example. If your topic is Cheerios, then your search might be consumer behavior and cereal rather than and Cheerios, because the chance that Cheerios itself is going to be the subject of many research reports is pretty low. However, when you do this search, and we're going to do it in a moment, you're going to find that there's quite a bit written about consumer behavior and cereal. If cereal was too narrow, you could change that to consumer behavior and food. So I'm going to show you this search in two of these 5 databases. And let me tell you a little bit about these 5 databases. The first one has news and has scholarly research, but what stands out about it is that it has trade journals. So these are journals that are written and the content comes from the industry that the journal is about. So there might be a cereal marketing journal done by, the writers are representing the research interests and the perspectives of the industry. That's pretty hard to find anywhere else, okay? PsycInfo is research, it's on research on psychology of all sorts, but in particular, the psychology of consumers as it is relevant to you. Business Source Premier, mostly scholarly research, as is PsycInfo, but it's from a business perspective. Okay, how research that says how are businesses affected by X, Y, or Z. Here's the multidisciplinary database I mentioned before, Academic Search Complete, and back on the Getting Started page there was a short video for using that effectively. And then finally the database Communication and Mass Media Complete. And this is research on mass media of all sorts, some of which would be relevant to marketing or advertising types of papers that you might be doing. So we're going to start with ABI Inform, and we're going to do this search that we have here. And if you want to play along and you do your own topic, that's also fine. If you have questions, just let me know. You have to log in with your Beach ID and your password. So we're going to do consumer behavior in the quotation marks. And here, I don't have to type the word and in because it's already here, okay? And cereal. And my belief, and everybody has different philosophies on research, my belief is to start very broad, not to narrow it in any way on this page because I want to get the lay of the land. I want to do an environmental scan, if you will, of the research that's in this database. And what we get is 4,554 results. Now, if you remember, I said that this database has scholarly, news, and trade journals in it. So we see that the first article that comes up is done by the Journal of Food Products Marketing. So that's an example of a trade journal, okay? This journal is very targeted to food products marketing. The next one is a press release. You don't care about press releases by and large. The next one is a dissertation. Another dissertation, the Wall Street Journal, a dissertation, The Economist, another news organization, and then we get agribusiness. So if I want to just get the trade journals, then what I would do is I would come over here to the filters on the left, and I would click trade journals. So now we have 869 results of articles that have the term consumer behavior in quotes and the term cereal in them. Doesn't mean that each of them are about those, but it mentions them. We can also change the date range. So let's say I just want the last 20 years. I just slide this little cursor over here on the left and click update. And that reduces me to 720. I can also filter by language if I only wanted language. These happen to all be in English. So now I have 720 articles in trade journals in the last, from 2000 to 2029. I like it. It's telling me about the articles that are going to be published over the next 10 years. I don't know what that did, why that did it. Okay, so now you can start looking through to see what might be useful. Again, we have Brand Week. Again, these are all, should be all trade journals. Marketing Week, Brand Strategy, Ag Exporter, Retail World, Farmer's Guardian. Not come across that one before. Canadian Grocer. Okay, you get the general gist of it. Most of them will have a link to full text somewhere in here. However, not all of them do. When you don't see a link to full text, such as this, what you will see is this icon, Get It at CSULB. And that is a service that we provide that does one of two things. It either goes and searches the other 301 databases to see if we can find the article in one of our other databases, or it will give you a service that will get it for you. Now, in order to see that service, I have to sign in. So I was signed in, but I guess I must have timed out. So now you'll see this link here, request article from Beach Reach, okay? And what happens when you click that link is it fills out a form for you with most of the information on the request, with the exception of one thing, which is the date by which, the last date that you can it can be useful for you, okay? And then what we will do is we will email you the article. Okay. When you come across an article that you want, when you come across an article that you want, I strongly encourage you to read the abstract, okay? You can usually get that by just clicking on the title without actually going into the article to see if it looks like it's going to be relevant. If it does look like it's going to be relevant, the first thing I recommend you do is to email it to yourself. That way, when it's 2 o'clock in the morning and you're writing your papers, you won't have to think, oh my God, where is that article that said blah, blah, blah about Cheerios, okay? The other thing that you'll see here is a citation generator. So if you click the quotation marks over here on the right, it will bring up a computer-generated citation. Now, a word of caution on computer-generated citations. If you've ever used Google Translate, you know that computer-generated translation is not always the most accurate. In this case, it's using the APA 6th edition, which has been superseded by the APA 7th edition. I don't know why it is defaulting to the 6th edition. And in this case, it looks mostly correct in terms of capitalization and commas and what have you. But in truth, this link is actually not part of APA. If you wanted to be accurate, you would take that link out. And I'll show you some resources that will help you check the citations. But I always copy these because I find it's easier to start from something and edit it than it is to start from scratch. Okay, so that's ABI Inform. Now, of the 5 databases here, there are 2 different interfaces. The interface in ABI Inform and the interface for the other 4. They function the same way. They have almost all the same tools, but they look a little different. So we're going to go into Communication and Mass Media Complete. Actually, let's go into Academic Search Complete. It's a broader database. And we get 80 results. So now we're looking at mostly academic research on consumer behavior and cereal. So 80 results might be fine, but one thing we can do to broaden the search is to use synonyms. So I could put cereal or Cheerios, or food, or breakfast. So if I use synonyms and I put a capital "or" in between the synonyms, and I put the parentheses on there, generally you don't really have to do that. I'm kind of old school in that way. But what you're doing is you'll take any article that has consumer behavior as the phrase and mentions any of these other terms. And voila, we went from 80 results up to 3,771. So you can see the power that synonyms has. Now, if I were to take out and just do Cheerios, this is out of curiosity because I haven't actually tried that, I still get my original 80 because there aren't any articles, at least in this database, that specifically talk about Cheerios. I'm going to put those back in. Oops, no. And I want the larger number because I want to show you the filters, some more filters. So if you want, this database, by the way, has both news, magazines, and scholarly, but it's heavily scholarly. It does have some trade publications, so you could pick that. I'm going to click Show More. And I'm going to click Academic Journals, Trade Publications, Magazines, and Newspapers. I don't care about book reviews. Okay, that did not reduce it much. But now if I knew that I wanted to have scholarly academic articles, scholarly peer-reviewed ones, then I would click that. And that gets rid of the trade publications, just so that you know, and brings us down to a little under 3,000. Again, there's a date filter. And now we're primarily looking at scholarly research about consumer behaviors and one of those terms. Now the filter that I wanted to show you, which I didn't show you in the other one, is something called subject or subject thesaurus. If you click on subject thesaurus, and I'll explain to you what this is about. and click Show More, you're going to see that the first term that pops up is consumer behavior. So you might say, well, I already have that in my search. Why do I need that? Here's the reason. The consumer behavior that you typed into the search box is asking the search engine, find me anything that mentions this phrase. By checking this box, what you're saying is find me anything that is about consumer behavior. There can be lots of things that mention the phrase, but aren't necessarily about consumer behavior. And then you can decide to pick whichever one of these other titles that you want: food consumption, organic foods, customer satisfaction, food safety, packaging, food chemistry, all kinds of possibilities. And so what that does is it further refines your research. Now the same tools are here. If the full text isn't here, you'll see get it at CSULB, which in this case, in this database, it shows up all the time. Let's see if we can find one that's not in this database, but that, ooh, that looks like that's in a different language. Let's just see. I can't read the language. It looks like it might be Polish. However, apparently it is an open access journal, so you should be able to get the article as an open access journal. So one of the assignments that you have in this class is to do an ad analysis. And I know that many people would just go to YouTube and look for their ads, but Professor Kresa, the chair, found a spot, no pun intended, that has ads. It's designed for the business community, but it's terrific. It's got all kinds of ads in it, and it's called iSpot TV. It's important that you go to iSpot TV/browse, because otherwise you might get lost in the business side of the website where they offer all kinds of paid services and what have you. But if you go to iSpot TV/browse, you will find hundreds of ads, and you can even sort them over here. So you could do COVID ads, the most engaging ads. I like to look at the top spenders, and the top spenders shouldn't surprise me, I guess, because I see so many of their ads, but Geico and Progressive are the top two spenders. $35 million for Geico. It doesn't say over what period of time. 27 million, 28 million for Progressive. And this is TV spending, not their total spending. Verizon, T-Mobile, Samsung, State Farm. So you can see that insurance and cell phones have very large marketing budgets. But you can search, you can look for the ads in a variety of categories. The other thing which this website does have, which might interest you, is they do have some free reports, and they're located under Insights. And the free reports do require that you log in, that you create a login. That doesn't charge you, doesn't ask for your credit card, but you do have to log in, I'm sure, so they can mark it to you. But there's some very, very interesting reports here that might help you in this class, might help you in another class. So, you know, we even have COVID ones, we have esports, we have how streaming ads exploded, not surprisingly, as we all were stuck in the house and couldn't go to theaters, home food delivery, all these things. So some very interesting and relevant reports. So that's iSpot TV. Okay, now we're going to go through some research tips for ad analysis. So 3 of the factors that you're supposed to take into account in your ad analysis, there are many other factors, but 3 of them are target audience. So what is the target audience for the ad? Okay. What are the persuasive techniques that the ad is using? And what are the cultural influences that the ad is dependent upon or relying on or targeting? Okay. So those are factors that you're using in your analysis. You're trying to look for, you're going to be answering these kinds of questions in your analysis, okay? So what I tried to do is set up search strategies for those three. I didn't go through all the factors that you need to research, but you can figure out how to do this based on these, using this model. So what you would want to do when you're searching for target audience is you want to put in target audience as a phrase in the search box, the word and then I recommend using these synonyms. And you'll see that the word advertise is what's called truncated. It's shortened and has an asterisk. What that does is it tells the search engine, I want any word that starts out with ADVERTIS. So that could be advertiser, advertising, advertisement, advertised. I want all forms of that word, or something that mentions the word marketing. Then I'm going to put and again, and here's where the confusion came in. Then you need a generic term related to your topic. So let's say you picked the Geico ad. Let's say you want to look at the top spending ads. And one of the things in your paper is that you want to understand the target audience that this ad is aiming for, okay? So you wouldn't put Geico in here. That's too narrow. That's like when we did Cheerios. You would want to put insurance or car insurance. So the search might be target audience and advertise or marketing and car insurance. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy up to the brackets. I'm just going to copy it. And I'm going to go to this first database. Actually, I'm going to go to the second database because we've already looked at ABI and form. I'm going to go to Business Source Premier. I'm just going to paste it in. Okay. Now I could take out this second and if I wanted to because the and is here, or I could just put in here car insurance. But in order so you can see the whole thing, I am going to. So what that sample search would be is target audience and advertise or marketing and car insurance. We get only four results, which surprises me a little bit, but let's take a look at them. Now we're in a business database. There might be more if we were in a trade publications, if we were looking at trade publications. So here is one from 2005, is the honeymoon over? Don't know what that means. So this is looking mostly at buying cars as opposed to buying insurance. So it's because I don't have quotation marks around it, it is separating the word car from the word insurance. Loving the lizard, we know that's got to be about Geico. Discusses the ad icon of the insurance company Geico. For nearly 60 years, Geico was an obscure niche marketer. The company depended almost exclusively on direct mail, blah, blah, blah. So it's talking about the switch over to the Geico Gecko. So what I want you to notice, however, here is you see this term automobile insurance. What that's telling you is switch car insurance to automobile insurance up here. That's the term that is more correct for this database. And those kind of hints exist in all databases. That reduced it just to 2. Wasn't exactly what I wanted, but okay. Now, I could take the word target out of here, but that's probably not going to change much. What that's saying is that not much has been written in this database about the target audience for automobile insurance advertisements. Okay, so I'm going to go back and I'm going to try a different database. So if the first database you pick isn't useful, then pick another database. Well, interestingly, we get 12,598, which seems overwhelming to me. However, we know that 921 of those are coming from trade journals. So one of the things we could do over here is we could go over here to the subject and try to filter it. And see, we have corporate profits, COVID, marketing. Okay, we might want marketing. We don't care about coronavirus. Let's see if we have anything here, automobile industry. Let's see if we have anything here on insurance. And I'm scrolling through here awfully quickly if somebody sees insurance and I've missed it. Okay, so we have a dissertation. Have to look through these a little bit more. So what this is telling me, okay, this is telling me as a librarian, as a researcher, that there might not be much research that's been done on the target audiences of auto insurance ads. So maybe I could conclude a couple of things from that. One, I could say, okay, then I'm just going to get rid of target audience and I'm just going to put advertising or marketing and automobile insurance. I'm going to change my topic. I'm not going to pick an ad on car insurance because there doesn't appear to be much written about the advertising and marketing of car insurance. I could try getting rid of target audience and see if that makes a big difference. And what you're watching here, and that made a huge difference. So if I got rid of the phrase target audience, and maybe I just put in audience. So audience is the key thing here. There is not much written about car insurance, the audiences targeted by car insurance ads. So anybody want to give me an idea of why they think that might be the case? Why might there not be much research done on the target markets, target audiences for car insurance ads?
I think car insurance companies just haven't necessarily been super active for a very long time in figuring out what their target audience is.
That's very much a possibility. It also may be that their target audience, they don't care. It's all people who have cars. And they know that a lot of car insurance purchases are made based on cost. And if you think about it, an awful lot of the advertising is done based on that. But you're right, it could also be that the car insurance companies just haven't gotten to the point where they are focusing their advertisement on elderly people or young buyers or people of color or what have you. So the point of all of this research is, thank you very much, Abram, for answering that question for us. But the point of all of this back and forth here is to show you that research is iterative. Okay, you have to play around with it. All right. We get down to persuasive techniques, you'll see that the word persuade is the one with the asterisk, as well as advertise. And that's because you could have persuade, persuaded, persuasive. And that's the point of having this in with an asterisk. The same with culture. You could have culture or cultural. Cultural. Okay. Right below that box, there's a link to APA citation examples, okay? And this is a real simple thing that's put together by APA that gives you examples for all kinds of different types of sources. The last thing that I want to talk about here, or next to the last thing, I guess, is finding statistics and public opinion. So many research assignments in this class or other classes would require you to be able to give some statistics on the issue that you're addressing. So for instance, when we were on iSpot.tv, you saw that there was data on how much advertising Geico had spent. And that's a type of statistic. So one of the things that is very useful is government statistics, and it depends, of course, on the whether the government, the federal or the state governments, collect statistics on your topic. But there's a generic search that I have found works very well. And here I put the brackets in because I couldn't think of anything else to do, but maybe I shouldn't put the brackets in. So you can pick any topic and do statistics, the topic, and then this phrase, cite, S-I-T-E, :.gov. And I'm going to show you what might come up here. I'm going to do nutrition, staying on the cereal kick. And what that is telling Google is, I want you to go to .gov websites only and find me statistics about nutrition. And you'll find that the CDC has various statistics, the Federal Department of Health and Human Services, which has statistics on nutrition, on physical activity, on obesity. You find the U.S. Department of Agriculture has statistics. I'm not sure what department Healthy People is in. It's probably Health and Human Services. And then you have some scholarly research that's on government websites. This works for just about any topic. I'm going to try car insurance since we're spending some time on that. Now, ads don't necessarily have to be .gov, as you know. So we have the Bureau of Labor Statistics, Treasury, BTS. I'm not sure what BTS department is. The Department of Transportation. Okay, the average cost of owning and operating an automobile. So this can work for just about any topic that the government collects statistics on. A couple of other sources of statistics that can be useful for you: the census has demographics. We have two databases that have a variety of statistics and ways to put them together, to organize them. And then there's one here that is about public opinion. Not statistics per se, but public opinion polling can be useful in understanding how the public perceives an issue. So if I were to put in here car insurance, you'll see that what this database does is it takes questions from several hundred, from 789 different studies, and then you can search the various questions and see what kinds of public opinion there were depending on the question. So it doesn't look like there's a whole lot of questions that have been asked about car insurance specifically, more about health insurance than car insurance. But if I were to put nutrition, so here's one. In the last 7 days, have you received or applied for nutrition assistance? And so what it's going to give you is how many people were in the survey, 7,500. It was a nationwide survey. It was conducted from the University of Chicago. It was conducted in early June. 10% of the people had received food stamps. 1% had applied for, 2% had tried to apply for, and 85% had not. Okay, so this is the kind of research that you can find in iPoll. If you we've gone through this when we were looking at the databases, but if you find an article cited in another article, all you need to do is and you want to get to the article that's cited, just copy and paste the title of the article into the one search box on the library homepage, and you'll either find the article or you'll get to something that allows you to request it via BeachReach. Very straightforward. And there are a couple of short videos that are on the Getting Started page, but I put them here as well, brainstorming keywords and finding full text. The only other thing I would ask is that you please, please, please fill out this instructor evaluation. It's short, but it will help me in these remote teaching times to become a better remote instructor. And that's all I have.